Welcome. So today, apparently, and I just found out because I always come in not knowing, it's the best space to come from when the mind is still open and willing and eager without laying out how it's going to be. So as I was waiting just 2 minutes before this in a very inner-centered, quiet space, and I asked, what was today going to be about? It's going to be about parts and conflict. All right, so parts and conflicts. So let's get some established basis on this kind of work. So parts and conflict is beautifully laid out in the neurolinguistic programming practices. When we have a part and conflict within us, what it can indicate is that we feel one way, or we desire to be one way, but we're having something else show up. So it's preventing us, or we're having this internal argument inside of us. So this constant tug of war, this frequently I'm doing this, but I should be doing that feeling. It shows up in things like relationships. So you might be going along with things and yet somehow internally it's not okay for you. Or it could be showing up in the family situations where you're being a whole different way compared to what you actually truly desire to be able to be like. Or it could show up in workspace as well. And where in fact you'll see it in the workspace where there's one vision, but there's many different parties that are playing the role to that, and some people are holding something back, often in a level of control or required control to keep them safe, so that the actual vision and mission isn't continuing because there's a parts and conflict behind it. So I mean, it's easy to point to these sort of things, but the sense and feeling inside is strange because it can happen in multiple ways. Sometimes the two different parts are completely unaware of each other, which is normally a much deeper effect. And at the high level end, it can be quite schizophrenic in nature. If the parts in conflict are aware of each other but just can't come to a solution because this one wants this and this one wants this, they're normally interacting at a level of consciousness, that's a dumb word, but let me get a better way of doing this, at a lower level of disagreement. So they're coming from their own frame of reference, yeah, the beliefs and values that are held by one part. And this is fascinating. So as a practitioner or as a person who loves to learn, you might like this. So each part actually will have its own identity. It will have its own set of values. It will have its own set of beliefs. It'll have its own set of capabilities, and therefore behaviours and actions that flow from that. And so again, the opposing part, the other part, also has its own identity. It has its own beliefs. It has its own values. It has its own capabilities and behaviours, therefore actions that flow from this. And so when these two parts are in their play, when one's ahead of the other and it's in play, it's behaving a certain way, it's being a certain role, it has a certain structure of beliefs, and the values, which are the decision-making strategies that come from it, sit within this space. And of course, the part that's behind, so, got this going on, the part that's behind is tugging and pulling, going, no, that's not how it is. That's not how it is. So it's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool, and it's very real in the fact that hello there. I'm just going to carry on. It's very real in the fact that these parts at a metaphor level exist within you, and so you might be flowing for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden there's a disjointed effect that occurs, and now you're flowing in a different way. When these parts are truly opposing, the disconnection internally is quite profound. and can be felt as a deep internal struggle. Good example is when the head desires that, my mind is telling me this, but my heart is telling me this. Or, that's a nice, really clean one for you to have a look at. So just as you're listening to this now, and I've given you a little bit of a framework of the way that parts play out, we're going to go into an intervention in a moment. So I'm just going to invite you to locate within yourself where there is an inner conflict. So you're wanting something or desiring something to be a certain way, and yet you're doing or being something else. Or at a decision crossroads, this is another good one. If you're at a decision crossroads and you don't know how to decide, because again, your head is this and your heart is that, or a part of, and you'll hear it in your own language, a part of me wants to, and a part of me says, no, I can't do that possibly. So just taking a moment within the space that is you right now to locate a very specific thing that isn't working. So just locating just one first. You don't have to know what the opposing part is right now. So just something that's not currently working for you in a flow in your life. Yeah. This is where the magic comes in. Because what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you to allow the part of you to come out to be viewed, just trusting the process, allowing the thinking mind to just settle in, knowing that all is well. And it's time to reveal self to self of what's really going on internally. And in a way, it's a fantasy game. But some fantasies are so real. Yeah. Some fantasies are so real that they're worth the time and the effort. So, what I'm inviting you to do here is imagine that on one hand is a representation of a part of you that's been in conflict with another part. So now just sort of holding your hand out or holding it in your lap, however you feel. You may like to leave your eyes open or you can close your eyes just to sink deeper into the trust in the process. Trusting the process, okay? Within this space here, I invite you to feel the hand, to look into the hand and to listen to how the part is connecting with you. Right, it will have its own way of languaging, and we're going to establish that in just a now. So, if it had a colour, what colour comes to mind? Just allow that colour to come into play and just observe the colour. Or just be aware of the colour that you thought of. That's perfect. If it had a texture, what texture is present? Yeah, so when I'm saying texture, it could be sticky, it could be hard, it could be smooth, it could be rough, it could be sharp, it could be multiple other textures that are available. So just allowing the internal being of you to express what texture does it have. If there was a sound connected to this, what is the sound? Just listen quietly. And be aware that there will be a sound. Sometimes the sound of nothing is as important. Right? What sound does it have? And now if it had a form or a shape, what form or shape does it display as? So a form or a shape. Maybe something recognizable, maybe not. Either way is perfect. If there was a weight, a weight. Is it light or is it heavy? Is it in between? Is it the size? What type of weight does it feel like? So just allowing the mind being, body being, to reveal to you the weight of this. And now, without judgment, inviting you to hear deeply, or to know deeply, if this part had a name, what name does it have? And I can tell you, it's not unusual for it to be quite a random name, or an unusual name if you're it could be non-gender specific, or it could be gender. I mean, if you're a woman and you get a male's name back, that's just as perfect, or vice versa, right? So what is the name of this part? Now, connecting in with that part deeply, what purpose does this part play? For what purpose is this part in play? And within this scope here, just allowing the revealing of the purpose of this particular part. Trusting your intuition and just letting and allowing the body being of all that is you, the inner intelligences and the intuition, to know what part and purpose this plays. And then thank that part. Thank that part for being here. Because in truth, there'll be an origination of the coping strategies that this part plays. And allowing the deep internal knowing of you to access the point in which this part began to play a role in your life as a coping strategy, as a way of being. As you allow that to form into your awareness, perhaps an age, perhaps a life event, perhaps just a general knowing and an awareness, letting arise within you the realization of how good a job that part has been doing on the basis of its origination. Yeah? And thanking that part deeply and with grace. True love and acknowledgement that it has been in place for a purpose, for a reason. Okay. And so now just coming back into the center of your being, so into the more centered aspect of you right now, just aware of the greater aspect of you, all of you, that's right, all of you. There we go. Okay. And so now inviting out into the other hand, the other hand, the part that has been in conflict with the part you've just spoken with. Yeah, the part that has been in conflict, allowing the intuitive mind being, the body being of all of you to reveal into sight, into space awareness, a sense of this other part. And now here, inviting you to notice if there's a colour connected to that. And if there is, what colour is it? Is there a sound connected? Does it have a sound? Listen deeply. Listening really deeply. What sound or the absence of sound? It's just important. If there was a weight, what is the weight? That's right. If there were a texture, what is the texture? If there were a temperature, what is the temperature? If there were a form, what is the form that it holds as it reveals itself to you as a representation for you to communicate with it? And as that becomes very real now as an observation of awareness, I'm inviting you, what is the name of this part? And again, just allowing the intuitive mind to present to you a name. No matter how abstract or no matter how surprising or how completely obvious. All right. So saying hello to that part. And now connecting in with the purpose of this part. The purpose. Trusting the intuitive aspect of all that is you to reveal the purpose of this part. That's right. Well done. And trusting at deep levels as the awareness and observation of this becomes quite real for you in this now. So as this part has a purpose and a name, set of beliefs and values that go along with that, I'm wondering where in your past was the origination of these coping strategies, or of this desire, or of this need, or of this way of being. And just trusting the intuitive nature of you to offer an age or a life event, situation, or circumstance to come into your awareness without the need for mistrust within this. Just a simple awareness of, oh, okay. Yes. Isn't it fascinating how this part and its role, the role that it's played, has been purposeful in its coping strategy, yeah, and what it does, and the way it does it. Absolutely magnificent. Though thanking this part, acknowledging this part for the depth of the role that it's played, for the strategies it's provided, for the awarenesses, and for the contributions to your life. And then just as you thank it, just let both hands relax down into the space, still aware of those two parts. And yet now, coming back into the inner centered nature of you, organizing and reorientating yourself into the physical heart organ. And if it feels right, taking in a nice deep breath. Speaking to the creative mind of all that is you, to the high connected nature, to the soul essence, to the pure intent of your expression within life here now. Connecting in and allowing. As you, the observer, looks out to the two different parts and the roles that they've been playing and their contributions to you in life, without judgment. Simple awareness of how that's been interplaying in your life. Perhaps a struggle, perhaps a confusion. And then from this deep interconnected nature of you, seeing the magnificence of that too. Inviting the creative mind and creative aspect of you to come up with ways where the conflict no longer exists, where there's a higher purpose, something that the two parts with their incredible skills can play into at a much higher level, integrating in an effortless way, organizing in a simple and profound way, reuniting and allowing a new form, a new color, a new texture, a new weight, a new temperature to form in the combination of these two. Coming to resolution and completion in the depths of all of you. allowing the reintegration to be simple, effortless, and obvious. And then following that. And if it feels right for you, if it feels right for you, bringing your hands up and gently together. If this feels right for you as an experience, if not, there could be what's happening here for me right now. There's a completely different thing at play. Right? So however your hands want to move, allowing the reorganization and the reorchestration of a new way of being to emerge within you. So in this case, for me, my hands have gone quite low and want to come together down low. So a deeper meaning purpose rather than a high purpose, right? But for you, it may have integrated at a higher purpose, a higher goal, or a higher achievement level, and or an emergence of an understanding between the two parts. So if you have any resistance within the two coming together, inviting you now to let them talk within the same space, to communicate about their healthy contributions. The healthy contributions. That's right, healthy to the whole being of you, to the entire being of you. There we go. To the higher being of you, and allowing that shift, change, and transformation to happen. So that these parts begin to work together in an integrated way. Yeah? No longer at conflict, knowing what it feels like to be in teaching every single cell in your body, knowing what it feels like to be within harmony of you, within your very interconnected nature of right now, across all times, across all planes, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and vibrationally. I give you just a quiet minute. No think. Just noticing. Simply noticing. That's right, simply noticing. Allowing the integration to arise within you, to sink deep, to elevate your awareness and presence. Inviting the creative mind to usefully and constructively future pace the next point in life where this integration shows up. Trusting yourself in this, the exact situation where it used to be in conflict and you notice an ease. And inviting the creative mind to set up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different variants that are useful and constructive to the whole being of you. And that's right. And allowing that to re-emerge within you and just let go. Nothing to do here, nothing to do other than observe and bear witness. So, the level of depth within a process like this often requires you to be gentle and kind with yourself. Have some water, and maybe enjoy a nice nature walk or soak in the bath, or if you have to move on to something else, go and wash your hands and just splash some water over your face and just ignite within the very space of your being. Completion, it is done, 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 it is done. So please offer your feedback in this, share what it was that you're working on, or certainly come back and find the post or post into the group that which has been useful for you, what you've observed about yourself as the conflict resolution has played out in your life in a different way, and that you have noticed it, because this is a big part of what's being set up here too, is that you will begin to notice the difference, and that you can celebrate those little differences, and you can merge within you the very real experience of self united within the space of all. You can certainly repeat this multiple times, and it will always be different, on the very basis that the integrative aspect of you, multiple ages, multiple roles, multiple identities, those things, if they desire to reunite and the illusions of those to fall away, repeating something like this can be a very powerful process, because over time what you begin to feel is this incredible unity, an incredible unity of congruence within the glorious being of you as a whole, moving around at one, right? At one. So thank you very much. I'm sure all of you know who I am. I'm Karen Janelle Davis, but just if anybody receives this as a gift of experience, this is the launch session for the group sessions of the Frequency Factor Tribe, and the group weekly sessions will be held at 1 p.m. That's New Zealand time frames on a Wednesday weekly, 1 p.m. on Wednesday weekly. The recordings will be available in the tribe, and you can do your self-paced use of them as and when it suits you. And we would certainly love, we being who's we, me and we, we would love to know how this is working for you in life. Thank you so very much for being you.